Good morning. It's Thursday, 8:30 a.m. And yeah, it was quite an interesting morning as well here. So figured I'd jump on here and just do a quick little update. I'm gonna delete some of these lines because they're no longer too applicable. Um, as we can see, we had a pretty big pre-market open today. So it definitely has caught a lot of people off guard. We had a pretty good rally. Let's just look at a daily sense here. We had a decent little rally yesterday, or the last couple days. We had Monday, where it dropped down crazy through the $65 range, which initially I made pretty verbal that I was gonna say this was a stop loss for me kind of area. I wanted to exit out of here, but we had this pretty big gap. This gap just kind of created a situation where those market orders don't get put in. But then, yeah, we had a little bit of correction back up, and it looks like we couldn't quite hold it. On a shorter time frame, I was doing a couple things, just seeing if it could stay within this little upward wedge right here, or maybe it was this one right here that we placed, but neither here nor there. It's not. It didn't work out. So it was something like this. The market's closed for the day. It seemed like we're gaining support. This was kind of a decision point here, and it had to turn back to the downside. So, funny thing enough, I had my stop market order for 56.95, and I wake up this morning and the price is down here, and my order's still open, and I had to call TD Bank itself and ask them why what happened, and they said that there was so much volatility that my order didn't get filled, and that they could sell it. They could sell it basically at I'm not sure if they said at $53. They said that they would sell it at like $53 or something if I wanted to take that instead. And I was just kind of confused, to be honest, because I've never been in this situation, if I'm just going to be personally honest, where I've had a stop loss set and the market jumped the gap and opened up below it. So typically it would sell it for this lower price. So it should have sold it, in my estimations, for, let's say, 54.78. That's what it should have sold it for. But they were offering me 53 or something, and I was just not completely aware of what was going on, and I just didn't want to panic sell it down at these levels here now, because I wanted to take a look at these charts and just kind of we got to re-strategize again. So now it's kind of funny that I set these preventative insurance policies, let's call them, up, and they failed. They failed. So probably going to be a good learning experience for me, that you can't always rely on setting a stop loss or a market stop, because when they have all this pre-market trading, the price moves, right? It doesn't open up where what you seen it yesterday at won't necessarily be what it starts at today. So for the average public citizen, there is you kind of get left out of the game, right? I mean, there's a lot of pre-market kind of activity that goes on, and that's what determines this discrepancy in price. So you said something to sell in this range, and it doesn't even hit it because it just jumps the gap. And I think what it would have done was sold it at this lower price, and they weren't even giving me, now that I'm looking at the charts here, they weren't going to give me 54.72. They were going to say something like, you said like 53 or something. So I didn't want to just make a decision in 5 seconds what was going on. So yeah, I'm back in the game here, and I guess I'm just coming at it with a little bit more of a calm demeanor, a better state of mind here, and yeah, sometimes things go down, right? Things do go down, and how far could they theoretically go down? I might just try to draw this parallel channel here again, just to be a little bit more concise. I was never never planning on using this channel, this bigger one. But now it seems like, yeah, we might be looking at this kind of these levels here. So everyone has their ideas, but I've heard other people say it could drop all the way down to this 42 spot. But in this sense, we can clearly see that we're way below this weekly trend line now. Like, for me, I'm pretty young still. I'm 32, so I could theoretically hold this for a long time, and that might be my decision. All right, starting to shift between that. I haven't sold it at the prices that would have been a good decision. You know, I should have sold it at the 72, the 65, and then the 56.95 was the kind of final line in the sand, I said. And now the situation has unfolded a little bit differently than I foreseen. So now I have to reevaluate my current situation and say, like, well, what's the risk to reward right here? It's starting to get pretty risky of selling for a negative, especially since I'm not day trading here, you know. So let's say that we do drop down. I mean, it's only another 13%. I mean, boo-hoo. Like, we're already down this far, and we'll just think if we can make it back up to the top here, that's almost 60. There's a lot of gains to be regained right now. So we're already pretty much closing into the worst of it in my case. I mean, I don't really think that the fear is more than just the fear itself, and it just spirals. People get stopped out, like I could have this morning, and I would have been pretty upset if it sold for $51, $52 instead of 57, more or less. These are kind of the fine details in the market, I guess, if you don't have 10 years experience, or you don't have a lot of trading experience, and you haven't had this situation happen to you before. Yeah, it's very possible that you can be you can unfortunately get subjugated to these conditions. But just looking at something on here, that's not. I'm just gonna delete that. Just trying to see where the support is on here. I mean, here's 2009 here too, so we're pretty much here. You know, we pretty much touched it. So I'm expecting a little bit of regain here. I mean, this was such a sharp decline. Like, looking at these other ones here, like in 2009, I mean, it didn't just go straight down with like a couple bars. Like, it kind of started curling over. Like, there's no curl over, it's just flat and drop. I mean, I guess there's one candle, 1 week here that it had a pretty bad one right here. This one was a pretty bad candle, straight down, more or less. But the next week was pretty good. So on a weekly sense, yeah, I mean, 1, 2, 3 negative candles to the downside. It can only be so many negatives before we have a positive rally here. People start seeing these prices that have been sitting on cash reserves, and yeah, this might be a good time to enter into some positions if you're holding on to some cash. I mean, I know I used to have some cash in my account there, but it's a little bit more fleeting. Actually, I didn't realize that I had 2 different TD stocks. I had the American one and also the Canadian one. So on the American one, I actually did get stopped out. So I ended up selling there for, well, quite the pretty loss. But I only had, I think it was 1,200, 1,250 yesterday, and it sold for like 1,000 today. So I don't think it sold at the price I wanted either. You know, I can almost guarantee I'm just going to look here and see what the market opened for. So I'm a little bit less concerned there. But for me, I think I had a stop set at, I think it was like 43.95 5 or something, or maybe it was I can't be completely certain, but I think said something pretty tight, similar to the other one, and you can see a gap below it again. So I'm not sure what price they did give me here, but yeah, you can see it. Holy smokes, yeah, it dipped down pretty wild here in America. I mean, even more so. I mean, that's the week here. Let me just look at the day to give us a little better. Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. That was nonsense. So yeah, I had to stop like in here, 40, like really tight, because I the same kind of play. I was really hoping that we could sustain some momentum and have a little bit of upward rally, but these gaps to the downside just suck. I mean, these gaps. I mean, I'm not a fan. I can tell you I'm not a fan, but you can see the momentum is way down. We're way down here. I mean, the weekly, the momentum's down. I mean, we're down here. The monthly, we're starting to get to the downside too, but wow, yeah, you can see that this has been a bloody month, man. Pretty intense candle, hey? Pretty intense there. Um, you can see though, we're pretty much right on the trend line right now. So to sell here, I don't think it's quite time to be selling the bags now. If you're still in these positions, then me personally, I think my decision is just to hold on for right now. There's not enough potential reward to be buying and selling for me, especially just reflecting on the last couple weeks here. I mean, I said I was more of a long-term investor, but when my stops didn't get triggered, it kind of made me have to react, and now I'm reacting in the market. And yeah, I could see why these guys got a lot of stress, because it's a very stressful thing to wake up and be like, oh my goodness, this is not going the way I planned. I set a insurance policy and they're not gonna cover the fire that burnt down my house. But yeah, regardless, I think my current plan is just to hold for now. In TD, we're kind of hitting a couple of these supports, so right about $50, I feel like that's a good psychological number here as well. $50, we have a lot of previous support and resistance here. I'd be pretty surprised if we break 50. I mean, it could be possible for sure. I mean, I've seen some other people say that we could come right down to this kind of $43 range too. But if that's the case, like I showed before, it's only another 10% or so. So 13%, I mean, for how much we've already went down, and historically speaking, this is a stock that likes to rebound up and keep going. It's just tough to really sell at these levels, right? Considering that you might have it start going up and you might just look like you might really regret it. I mean, for me, this money doesn't have to be spent right now. Yes, I've contemplated doing other things with it, but at this moment, like, yeah, it would have been good to get out early at these points, and I think this would be a good lesson for everyone. You can see how these parabolic channels can help you. Just some general support and resistance. So we're gonna move on here, and yeah, wish you all the best, and don't let fear get the better of you. I mean, it can get the better of us always in an hour and a day, but it's sad to see people live in fear in weeks at a time, and it won't only like decrease your quality of life. It will actually make you sick. I mean, it lowers your immune system. So the worst thing you could do if you're actually scared of the coronavirus is to be fearful, which is it's kind of a weird thing. I mean, laughing a few times a day is proven to boost your immune system. What's proven to decrease it? Fear. So as silly as it sounds, to have a couple laughs and To not be shaking in fear, trembling all the time is going to be your best antiviral protection out there. Um, but yeah, I just figured I'd jump on here because there's another huge, interesting thing, and this is also just like a personal record for myself, my own trading record, so that I can pull back some of these times and look and reflect, and maybe in the future, hopefully, I'm a better trader and I can kind of chuckle at some of this stuff when you're still learning the ropes, so to speak. So I think the next chart that I'm going to look at here is just let me take a quick peek. I was trying to get this from my mom. She said she was going to send me the ticker, but I might actually have to look this one up. It's I know she said it was something like it was actually like coronavirus. No, I'm just joking, guys. Corona beer and canopy growth. Um, my apologies here. Hopefully I can find it. Here we go. Corona and canopy. What is this thing called? Um, Constellation Brands. Okay, here we go. My sincere apologies for that delay there. Constellation Brands. We'll do the American one. Oh, looks like I have been on here as well. I mean, it's kind of funny when you pull up a ticker that you don't really know about, and I think this is all. I'm gonna just delete this stuff because who knows what I was doing. Yeah, we're on a weekly sense. They must have acquired some of these things, so it's gonna delete some of this stuff. And see if we can take a general look at this. So Corona and marijuana. So this is kind of a vice stock. That's what they usually would nominate this kind of title as. So it looks like overall it's been a pretty good upward trend. I was probably trying to draw some general trend lines to see, okay, what kind of action do we got here? It's not clear. It's not as clear and concise coming upwards, but let's see if we can just draw some type of channel here. Let's see if we can. Oh yeah, like that's a long-term trend here. So right about there, that's usually where you say like these are like the strong supports, and this is yeah. I would say that there is some room to the downside here if we look and say that. It doesn't have to touch all the time though. Like when it comes down, it doesn't have to touch. It can stop wherever it wants. As far as support in here, you'd say a real concrete support would be right here, but that would be even further down the trend. So we'd have to look at some of these smaller ones. And I'm not sure if these ones will hold as strong as other big tops, but same thing here. We could have said that once this previous kind of high was defeated, it could have been a signal, as well as when we made a lower low here, or we're still making a lower low. This could be a sign of the market reversing, but quite possible. There's still more money to be made, man. Like people aren't gonna retreat to their bomb shelters quite yet. I mean, so we could have an easy bounce on here, or maybe we even go down to this level and have a bounce, or maybe we even come down here and bounce off this bigger parallel channel. All these are possibilities. No one can be 100% certain, but looking at this right now, at this price, it really always depends on how active you're trying to be in the market. Just going to zoom it in a little bit more, see if we can get a little bit of a better idea. So yeah, you can see that we got a kind of a clear support right here. This one doesn't matter anymore, so we're out of that range. So maybe I'm just going to delete this. It's not really playing much of a factor. That was my mom texting me the ticker there, so we're already ahead of that right now. But yeah, so I could say that 122.43 could be a potential bounce off zone. Same with this 93.45. I mean, I can't really see it getting much lower. It could drop down into this range here, and then have another bounce up. When we're looking at it, it looks like a lot of room, right? I mean, there's a lot more room to go down, but it's never certain. So as far as that, so I can get a little better view of the volume here. Yeah, not much I can say with that. You can definitely see that we're on a decrease in the momentum. We're in a downward spot, so these are typically good spots to buy. Yeah, I mean, do you still buy when it's dropping like this? No, I mean, don't catch the falling knife. But if you got cash reserves, you're probably just licking your lips right now, just waiting. Like, I mean, just waiting for these momentum things to signal the opposite. So I'd really like to look at this monthly time frame. So you could have thought that this would have been a good time for a reinvestment into here, as it's downward, just in a mere sense of momentum. But here, yeah, we didn't quite have that upward swing, so maybe we have some more downward action to play out. And when we're looking at long-term investments, I really like using the monthly and the weekly to signal where is a better place to get in, to catch a bigger trend upward. And yeah, it looks like we had a little reverse down here, but there's such a scare in the market. Everything's going down, like gold's going down. I mean, so how's gold going down? I mean, it just, everything will go down. Silver's dropping like as much as it's like as if it's not like a precious metal. I mean, there's definitely not a lot of sense being made in some markets, but that's the world we live in. So looking at this one on a weekly sense, you can see that, oh, it looked like it had we could have said, oh yeah, there was some opportunity here. It looks like we had a nice little rally, but yeah, it was short-lived under the current climate out there. So looks like we're having another little descent down to the weekly. So yeah, there might be some downward actions here in the next few weeks, just like everything. But there might be a good chance to buy in on some of these stocks, especially the ones that you know that are good, that are not going nowhere. I mean, when we're talking about this, I don't know if it's that cliche, but even having the name Corona with the Constellation brands, that might be a negative thing. Like, I mean, as superficial as that sounds, I mean, people will try to label you a racist for saying like a brown bag or like a black bird. So that, or you can anyone can fine pick your wording these days. And I remember like when in 2017 when the bull market in cryptocurrency was going on, there were stocks that were changing their name to blockchain that had nothing to do with cryptocurrency, nothing to do with the technology, nothing to do with blockchain. It'd be like Ford blockchain, like just, and just having the word next to it would pump their prices because people didn't know nothing about blockchain. They were just buying shit that had anything to do with it and hoping it would go up. So that same like positive stigma association could be true in the reverse as well. So I'm not really saying that is going to be the case, that people are going to be that misled, but sometimes when you're looking at foreign investors and stuff, like there can be superstitious. I mean, the Chinese don't like the number 4 because it sounds like 4 in Chinese or Mandarin sounds like death, like very close. So it's just simple superstitious things that will sometimes lead a lot of investment away from that stuff. So not that this is, it is more just like interesting to talk about. But overall, yeah, when you look at the long term, this has been a pretty well performing stock. I mean, it looks like just about everything we're having this little turn to the downside. On this daily sense, it looks like it broke its momentum. So yeah, we're gonna have a little bit of downward action here, and These would be levels that I'd be looking at to hopefully gain some support. Maybe it's going to be more of a range. So you can never know like the exact amount. So sometimes you could say a range. A range between 115 and 130 will likely have a pretty good strong support section here. And another little indicator here, I'm going to just take out that exponential moving average. I think at one point I say estimated, so my apologies with that. That's a beautiful thing about doing some of the stuff. You can catch yourself when you make mistakes, and you can only fall forward in that regard if that's what your true hope is. So what I'm going to look at is the VPR. I swore that's what that was called. All right, I'll have to look at that one at a different date. But what it really does is that it shows like on a horizontal aspect, like how much support and resistance are at certain levels. So it might show you that you can almost visually guesstimate too, like between let's say 175 and this is going to have a lot more support just because there's been a lot more action, let's say, versus right here. So where there's a lot more price action within a certain price range, it seems to make it a little bit more fortified through that area. It doesn't just wick right through in one instance. But yeah, that's going to bother me until I can figure that out. So I'll have to bring that up. I'll have to pull it up in another date here because that's kind of a nice thing too to get a little bit of a sense like where is there going to be some more major support and resistance. I mean, people can try to make whatever they want out of these things. I mean, you could have maybe I don't know if you could have called this a good old head and shoulders here. I mean, I don't play these very much, but you can kind of see it there. And a clear break of that neckline, and we had a little drop down. So yeah, I just like drawing the trend lines more. And yeah, we could see we're past that point. So at this point, it depends on where you bought in with the stock and how long do you plan on holding it. It seems to be a pretty good stock overall. I mean, it generally moves to the upward direction. Now, I'm not sure about the fundamentals of this Constellation Brands. I mean, I just briefly heard that it's got canopy growth and Corona in it, so it's probably the best Canadian wheat stock that's not as flaky and not as all hype. I mean, it's kind of the grassroots one, but I'm not really sure how well marijuana market is doing in Canada. Regardless, I mean, it'll probably stabilize and become profitable maybe at some point, but I think there's just too much non-legal sale going on for it to actually have good returns. And then you already heard my views about the Corona beer itself. I mean, it could be something just that stupid that plays with human psychology, and then all of a sudden, Corona doesn't sound so good anymore. I mean, or it's just maybe it will, maybe it'll reverse, and all the sometimes good, bad publicity is still good. I mean, any attention is sometimes welcomed when you're in competition with a lot of other brands. So I mean, it's getting more public attention. It's just a matter of how is human psychology gonna intermingle with all that. So I don't know what else I can say about this Constellation Brands. I mean, I've never held it. It seems like it's just responding with everything else here. I'd probably look at some of these supports here. If you're looking at to rebuy, But the bigger channel, the bigger trend here seems to be held within, and it only makes sense in a technical aspect that we're going to have a little bit of this rounding and maybe play into here and then bounce back up. So maybe if you start seeing the price at these levels, maybe you want to reinvest into your position. That's probably the best way to look at this stuff. I mean, you don't want to always sell when it gets to the line here. That's usually when the line gets held. But you might look at something like in here as another buy point. Let's say if it starts approximating these levels, you might want to add a position to here. If this is truly a spot that you like, especially let's say that we get, ooh, that's pretty big. It's too small. We get some levels like this, or we get some turn to the downside here, and everything starts to align perfectly. We got multiple things telling us it's a good idea. Perhaps that's a good choice. So there's going to be some great investment potentials here. So I think right now, instead of like getting all this stress looking at the market, I'm going to just try to get some cash so I can enter in some of these positions. So historically speaking too, I mean, you could say that, well, let's just look at some of these months. So here we got March is pretty bloody. Looks like March was pretty good last time around. Right here. Yeah, that was awesome. Not that the month makes a big difference in any regard. Well, I'm on the weekly here, so there's multiple weeks in March. So let's just go to the monthly candle. So we look at it a little bit more concrete. So here's March, it's pretty red. Here's March again, right there. Not quite as significant, but here's March. So yeah, there's no real correlation here. I mean, I was just doing this more for fun. But yeah, in terms of the year, I mean, this is when you plant your seeds, you till your field, and yeah, you could think of that too in an investment sense. I mean, this is the time of year that you might want to do your work, whether it's in the field or do your work in the financial realm, and let it grow through the summer months, and you can reap the harvest in the fall. But yeah, I'm just being a little bit silly there with that, but I don't use that kind of strategy. I don't use like the lunar cycle or the zodiac, but I do have some interest in just seeing if there's any correlation over time. With me personally, I will kind of look at that, but definitely don't make any financial decisions off of it. Anyway, yeah, so it looks like we're having a little bit of downward momentum. This might be a good buy zone if you're needing this money for something else. Maybe you want to look at these markers and kind of draw lines in the sand. But overall, yeah, Constellation Brands, STZ, Corona, and Canopy Growth. I mean, Canopy Growth ticker is a weed. And looks like I had just a couple supports here in general. So, well, yeah, looks like Canopy Growth broke a bigger support right there. That kind of sucks for it. Yeah, like I said, the whole weed market kind of sucks in Canada. I mean, I wouldn't. A lot of people made some money. I did too, but what goes up must come down, and it just seems like it had its up phase now. I mean, if we look at something like gold, well, shoot. You can see I was really looking at this bugger here. I mean, I was trying to figure out, you can't see a darn thing what I was doing, but let's just delete that. So this is something that I was more convinced of. Let's say we go in this monthly sense, and it has played out well. I mean, this has kind of saved me from a huge amount of losses. So we see we have that big uptrend here. We come down here, we have some higher lows. And yeah, this is when I threw my money in here. I was just kind of, hey man, we got a nice little upward swing, and yeah, we went up here and we started trying to reach pretty good heights here. So this could be the beginning of another bull cycle for gold. I mean, you can kind of see it goes up and then it trickles down, and then boom, here's the bull market, and here's the bear market, and then here's the consolidation phase. And once we break the all-time highs here, we might be coming into new territory for gold. I mean, look at it though, it's already kind of high. I wouldn't really be buying in right now, but when I did these charts, I thought it was a great idea looking at the momentum down here coming up. Just a quick little brief intro into, let's say, silver. Silver here, I mean, it hasn't really had the move up to the upside yet. I mean, it always seems to never do what it should, but the same regard, like right in here is when you want to buy these assets, when no one's talking about them, right? Then they have their upcline, and everyone's talking about how awesome silver is. Get in silver, and then they sell on you. And right now we got a pretty good support right here. Let's say at 1364, 68. And yeah, we're kind of stuck between these two marks right now, between $13 and $20, and we haven't quite had that pump up to the upside. I mean, silver is just kind of one of those assets that doesn't quite move as strongly as gold. People don't think as silver quite as a safe haven. They think of it more sometimes as a commercial product. But all the same, I mean, silver is very valuable with a lot of different things. I mean, electronics, jewelry, I mean, medical supplies. I mean, it costs $25, I know, to mine. So they might improve the mining cost, but the silver is usually undervalued, and it's just always just seeming like, how long can they keep the silver market down? And especially when you think like silver should ideally be a 1:16 gold ratio, and it sure as heck isn't, you know? So silver has had a bigger downtrend with this economical, climate than I would have suspected versus something like gold, which has held pretty resilient. I mean, I think I'm in like this, this PSLV stock because, like I said, I kind of believe in these ones, and we're kind of getting support here at the bottom. We're kind of doing a ascending triangle. We've kind of maybe went up a little bit more. Let's just see if I can get this one. I'm going to close this video out right away, but I just wanted to take a quick look at this to give you an idea where some other ones some other charts like kind of look a little bit better for long-term investments. And I'm not telling you to invest in these ones, but so it's pretty tight there. Let's take a look here. Yeah, so I think I made this little thing and I was going to reinvest once it touched down here. I didn't foresee this kind of negative move, but I'd say that all in here is a good buy, to be honest. I mean, I did sell that TD. I might reinvest it just in the silver here. I mean, this looks like a pretty good spot for me. Like on a monthly sense, we've had kind of a continual uptrend. I mean, it looks like it's got nowhere to go, but it's just barely reaching the positive here. So it's been kind of just neutral, kind of latent. These are the great times to get into markets when they're kind of just flatlined after a big thing. It's, and you can see it's starting to gain support here. It's not breaking these levels. So yeah, I think that gold and silver are good things. I mean, this is the one that I'm invested in, and I might just whatever I sold out that American TD, I might just call in. And they make you for some weird reason do these over the phone. They don't let me personally. You need to be a trader to invest in this stuff, which makes me all the more suspicious that, I mean, how come you're making barriers to entry for the public? Probably going to go up. I mean, that's just my little funny thing. But another cool thing is this VIX volatility index, and it's showing that the fear in the market is right back up to where it was in 2009. So just a huge spike in here, and we that's where that was yesterday at 36.2. It was high enough, and we had a huge jump. Okay, this is the stock to own. I don't think you could buy this stuff, but what do I think? What is up right here? Up 22%. The fear's up 22% today. Anyway, yeah, just kind of end on a lighter note. What goes up must come down. And yeah, there's a lot of opportunity here too. I mean, the most millionaires that are made are always in the market crash. So sometimes you got to just take yourself out of the current situation and just de-invest your emotions into losing a little bit of percents here and there, and reinvest it into the potential opportunity of making a lot of money here over the next few months. So I'm gonna try to center myself and have a good day, and I hope you all have a good day too. Yeah, it's an interesting time, but that's why it's good to be a little bit involved and not get too over emotional, and know that, yeah, we're all in this together. So have a great day, everyone. Talk to you later.